In today's video, we'll be looking at the performance of two cards. I know this can't be justifiable. After all, this is the 980 and this is the 6600. There is I think a 5-year gap between the two, and this is no way in any form fair. But to make this fair, we're gonna put them in the systems they're supposed to go in, except reversed. The 6600 is going with an almost decade-old CPU, and the 980 is going with a 12th Gen i3. Let's get on with the video.
Originally, I was going in to say that the 12100F system was going to be better, but apparently the i5 has just got enough muscle to use enough of the 6600 to be faster than the 980. Nothing wrong with putting an older GPU into a newer system, but I wasn't expecting putting a newer GPU into an older system to actually be faster than the latter. In terms of pricing, doing a setup where you have a newer card paired up with an older system is the issue is you could have made a new system for the price of the older card. And there's nothing wrong with reusing older cards in newer systems. You can reuse up to a 1060 with a Ryzen 5 7600. But of course, that's a horrible combo to go with a 7600. But while you're using the 1060, you can wait for a newer graphics card to come out, or for a current graphics card to go on sale. In Forza Horizon 5, I was surprised to see that the 12100F 980 system was slower than the i3 470 6600 system was slower. I expected the i3 to make it up in the 1% lows, but apparently the 6600 was just better. This could be due to driver support or GPU architecture. And sometimes you're in a scenario where you have an older system, and pairing a newer card isn't always bad if you already have the system, but in no scenario should you on purposely build this system. In an ever so slightly more CPU intensive game, Team Fortress 2 shows in the 1% lows that an older card can shine. And the 6600 on the other hand, so-so.
My final thoughts. Well, obviously, the 6600 was faster than the 980, even with the hindrance of an older CPU. The 6600 was being bottlenecked, obviously. And not just CPU power alone, it's also PCIe speeds as well. As this is a 3.0 motherboard, and the 6600 is a 4.0 card. Obviously, there's no... got something in my tooth. Obviously, there's no problem with that, because it still has 8 pins, and that's just enough to squeeze by. 8 functional pins on the PCB. There are some cards like the 6500 XT where there's only 4 functional pins and it relies solely on PCI 4.0 speeds. And that's kind of an issue, because the 6500 XT loses a lot of performance when put in an older system like this. But if it was something like the 6400, that thing's expected to be in a system and this slow, to the point where PCIe speed won't matter much. But actually, back to the 6600 and 980. the benefit of upgrading to a newer card, even when you have an older system, can be sometimes power efficiency, FRS, DLSS, or just physical ray tracing cores. Then let's talk about the benefits of using a older GPU in a newer system, newer motherboard, and newer RAM, newer CPU, all that stuff. Is that you can always upgrade later, especially if you already have an old EPU in storage or in your old system. As long as it's driver supported, you can still reuse it. Even if it's legacy drivers, you can still use it for some games. I wouldn't recommend something like the Vulkan-based Indiana Jones, but most games people play are not Vulkan-based. So, leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you didn't. Make sure to subscribe and comment, as it helps me out.